Good morning. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the Managing Director of Business of Cannabis. Welcome back to the Cannabis Daily Show for Wednesday, January 26th. If you like what you see, you can check out the rest of our channel with our full Business of Cannabis archive right here, so please do subscribe. For those of you new to Business of Cannabis since 2017, we've highlighted the companies, brands, people, and trends driving the cannabis industry, and that's what we look to do here every day. Usually, following the rundown of our key stories, we'll get a BofC Live segment going, and we were going to be joined by David Kerr, no fault of his own. He's our great insurance partner here at Business of Cannabis. He'll be joining us actually, I think, on the 28th. My scheduling mistake, my technical error, so I apologize for that. So today, you'll just hear the top stories of the news, and we will get you on your way. As always, we'd like to hear from you in the comments, and always feel free to visit us at businessofcannabis.com, as well as through all of our social channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and this YouTube channel. Before we get going, there is an event today, January 26th, online. It's our retail series at noon Eastern. It's presented by Vitrina Group, and Leafly will be looking at inventory planning for 2021. On March 10th, we'll be back in Brooklyn for our BofC New York sessions, connecting social equity licensees with capital. That'll be the topic. So that's March 10th, Thursday night in Brooklyn. April 6th, we'll be in Miami for Business of Cannabis Miami. We'll be talking about cannabis retail tech, design, and data, so please be sure to check all those out. You can find all the details in the link below. For today's top stories, Amazon's getting behind the State Reform Act. MedMen files a lawsuit against New York Governor Kathy Hochul. Cantor Fitzgerald does not expect to see cannabis stocks bouncing back this year. And more CBD news out of France. For our first story, it already had the support of Charles Koch's Americans for Prosperity group, and now Amazon's lending its support to Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace's federal legalization bill. That, according to Forbes, it doesn't necessarily mean Amazon wants to sell or deliver cannabis, but according to the Congresswoman, it does open up the hiring pool by about 10%. For Amazon, for its part, did relax some of its drug testing policies last year, so kudos to them. As a reminder, the State's Reform Act would federally legalize cannabis, institute a business-friendly low federal excise tax of 3%. It would regulate cannabis much like alcohol, and estimates say that it will generate $3 billion in tax revenue by 2030. For our second story, a lawsuit filed yesterday by MedMen alleges that New York Governor Kathy Hochul's office inappropriately influenced Ascend Wellness's $75 million acquisition deal after executives from Ascend attended a fundraiser for Kathy Hochul at the tailing end of 2021. Now, a quick refresher, and I want to make sure I have the facts correct. A law firm in New York City hosted a fundraiser for Kathy Hochul in December. The deal between Ascend Wellness and MedMen needed to be done, approved by regulators by the end of December 2021. After the fundraiser, what Kathy Hochul's off saying, unrelated, the regulators in New York approved MedMen's licenses in New York, in which case triggered Ascend's Wellness acquisition of said licenses in New York. MedMen says there was improper meetings of Kathy Hochul and executives from Ascend at this fundraiser in New York City. We will see what the court said. For their part, New York Governor's Office says they had nothing to do with it. No members of her team ever met with the individuals in question in the lawsuit, so we will continue to follow that. For our third story, predictions that cannabis banking reform is on its way is wishful thinking. That, according to the lead analyst at Cantor Fitzgerald, Pablo Zuanic, in a report to his clients, he said that sector-wide declines can be attributed to stocks reflecting that, quote, nothing happens in the U.S. at the federal level regarding marijuana in this coming year. This all according to BNN Bloomberg. He did say, though, that there will be bipartisan support for legalization, but productive compromise is unlikely. You could apply that to anything happening in D.C. right now. Social justice reform, he said, is on the table. He said that MSOs will continue to grow and consolidate even without interstate trade. No surprise to anybody, but newcomers to the sector will struggle to compete. He said valuations are low, but growth is unlikely for some time. And Canadian companies aren't a good bet. However, Auxly, Organigram, and Village Farms could have some opportunity. Of course, Village Farms is the owner of Pure Sun Farms, which is a market leader here in Canada in many categories. That is all according to Cantor Fitzgerald's lead analyst. For our final story, we're back to France, and France's highest court has suspended the New Year's Eve ban on CBD flower sales. This, according to Business Can. Now, flower makes up about 75% of CBD sales in the country, and on January 24th, a court temporarily suspended the ban, stating that health concerns pertaining to the flower weren't valid. This is good news for the CBD flower market in France. Those are the stories we're watching today. Join 10,000 others and catch all of these stories and more in your inbox every day at 7 a.m. with our Cannabis Daily newsletter. We do not have a BofC Live podcast conversation coming up today, but we will connect with David Kerr later in the week to talk about cannabis insurance. So be sure to check out that. We will look forward to seeing you today at noon for our retail series. We'll be talking about inventory planning for 2021. Thank you for joining us for episode 17 of Cannabis Daily, and we look forward to seeing you here on YouTube tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.